have to turn my mic on.
Is mine on? Yes, it is.
Hello? 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 Okay. Okay, it's so dark I can't see anyone. Oh, that's better. That's a little better. Okay. There are actual people here. It's not just a laugh track. That's good. Thank you for coming. This is a considerably larger crowd than on my first tour.
I met you on that tour 10 years ago.
We were in the UK.
Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, it was all your fans, let's be real. Yeah.
It was really fun because the rest of those signings were just me, and they set up the one. They're like, there's some other authors here, let's do a group signing. I'm like, yeah. And I got to listen to my first snippet of Six of Crows as you did the reading.
I did.
And I bought a copy, and I read it then, so.
And you hated everyone.
No, it was awesome.
I remember it very clearly because we were in this sort of weird basement space, and everybody was there to see Brandon, and so all the questions were like, on page 22 of Storm, you know, and you were so kind because you kept referring back to me and the other author and being like, well, I'm sure when you're writing, this is that, and it was like a masterclass in how to be a good literary citizen.
Oh, well, thank you. What we're gonna do tonight is, this is Leigh's tour, and I'm just kind of here. So I have a few questions for her. I might, answer some of my thoughts too.
Some questions,
but I have some questions for her, and then we have the fishbowl, which is, I've been told questions that some for one of us, some for the other. We can both answer whatever.
Yes.
And so we're going to do the fishbowl, and let's see, the time is 7:15. So we'll do my questions for 15 minutes, and then we'll fishbowl for the rest of the time.
Yes.
So we plan on this going about an hour. Is that correct?
Yes.
So,
well, this is my last event, so I'm going to push that Q&A for as long as we can go. It's going to be 2 a.m. We're all going to be exhausted. You're going to be, please let me out of this room. I'll be like, no, I have a timeshare. I do have a small announcement. If you look at my Instagram, we've gotten a lot of questions on this tour about other grishaverse books. This is a short story, but I'm releasing a short story set after Crooked Kingdom. It's told in letters and found documents and sheet music. I had to make it complicated. I'm sure everybody would prefer a Christmas novella, but that's not how I roll. So it's a little letter heist, and we have 12 new pieces of art that's going into it, and it's now available for pre-order. So. That's my big announcement. I know you would be like, I've written 32 books.
No, that's awesome. I'm excited. But I want to say, did you say sheet music?
Yes, I commissioned sheet music for this.
Oh, you just had to show me up, right?
I did.
Yeah.
You mean you didn't? I have a friend who's a composer, and I thought it would be really cool to have a piece of music that Wyland might have composed.
Yeah. That's really clever. I've never thought of doing that. I like to put lots of ephemera in the books.
Yes.
And I've never thought of sheet music. So.
Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's do my first question, because it's actually related to all of this.
Okay.
You are one of the people, one of the few who writes in the best genre ever. You write in a lot of genres. You've done dark academia, you've done all sorts of things. But fantasy heist is the best genre.
I don't disagree.
So, what do you love about fantasy heist? Let's talk about fantasy and heist, and yeah.
I mean, you know your way around a fantasy heist.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's that I like heists to begin with. I love the moment of the turn. I love a big reveal, and I always think of it as, there's two marks. There's the mark in the book, and then there's you guys.
Yep.
You're the other mark. So it has to be a convincing foil. And I think also the fantasy element, I think you have to be extra cautious of, because it can't feel like that's the way you're getting one over on someone all of the time. It just has to be one additional kind of power or influence in the world.
Right. I really like a fantasy heist because you can set up, here is everybody's talents.
Yes.
Here, and some of them have magical enhancements to these talents. This is how you use them to pull off a heist you couldn't do in our world.
I will say, that's very clear in Mistborn. I think for me, I think of this as, you know how they talk about like Marvel having street level shows like Luke Cage, and then they have the sort of big superhero shows. For me, Shadow and Bone is the superheroes, and and Six of Crows is street
Right.
level. So you could almost do it until you get to that midpoint. You could almost do it without magic. And then, necromancy, etc. Yeah.
Right. Necromancy happens sometimes.
It happens.
It just-
Necromancy happens is a shirt I actually would love to own. Yeah.
That would be a good shirt. Necromancy happens sometimes. It's really interesting because it feels like a very natural fit, fantasy heist, just because a lot of fantasy that I love reading is happening on that street level.
Yes.
Particularly kind of in our era of fantasy. And I remember when I came up with Mistborn, I'm like, nobody's done this. I'm going to do it. And then a bunch of us came up with the same idea because within the next little time, there were just a plethora of really fantastic fantasy heists that came out. And that actually made me really excited.
Well, I actually had an agent who shall remain nameless, not my agent, obviously. I would have fired him. But who said to me, I was like, oh, well, my next book's a fantasy heist. And he was like, didn't Scott Lynch already do that? And I was like, yes, there can be only one.
Yeah.
There can be only one fantasy heist.
And Scott Lynch's is really good.
It's
So
really great.
that-
Liza Luckmore is delicious.
So why wouldn't you want more of that?
Yeah. But this is the weird thing, is it's like, either people are like, one thing was successful, now we must recreate that 1,000 times. We have never known anything but the successful thing, and this will surely be successful forever. And then the other thing is like, well, this thing filled the slot. That's it.
And
We can only have one vampire book. We
You
can
can
only
never-
have one fantasy heist. Like,
I was
okay.
on a panel, or sat in the audience. I wasn't published then. Panel, World Fantasy Convention, 2001, 2002. And the editors on the panel, I was there to learn what they were buying. They said, do not send us vampire books.
I'm sorry, what was the year?
The 2001, 2002? Yep.
Look, this is a good lesson, right? I assume there are writers in this audience. No? This is how we thin the competition. Shut the doors. But this is the thing. You cannot write to a trend, right? By
Nope.
the time you finish that book, maybe not if you're you, but if you're me, by the time you finish that book, the market will have moved on. And the truth is, you want to be, when you go out with a book, you want to feel like it's the best thing you could have written and that you believe in it even if other people don't.
And nobody knows how long trends are going to last.
Nope.
Nobody knows when new ones are going to start. No one knows when there'll be revivals.
Yep.
I'm still smacking my head about Fourth Wing because it's the 20-year nostalgia cycle for Aragon and How to Train Your Dragon and things. And it was and I'm like, oh, of course a new dragon book is going to happen. I could have seen that, but even I, right, paying attention to this, didn't see that, of
I
course.
feel like you should just publish a book of publishing prognostications.
That's right. And
that
then
are
those
like,
wouldn't happen.
It would be like a farmer's almanac.
Then
for
we
writers.
thin the crowd, right?
People will buy it and they'll be like, he said everything's going to be mole rats.
Yeah.
So that's what we should be doing.
Yep.
I just did an event with Ursula Vernon, and her next book apparently involves mole rats. So
Okay.
I'm just saying, get on that trend now. I will say when I was querying, so I went off and wrote my book before I knew anything about publishing or marketing, and when I went to look for an agent, I quickly discovered that no one was looking for secondary world fantasy. Every agent was like, I want vampires, I want werewolves, I want steampunk, I want sci-fi, but do not give me secondary world. And there were only a handful of agents who were willing to even look at a query like that.
When I was trying to break in, it was all grimdark. They're like, go read George Martin, give us more of that. But
And you
shorter
were like, sir, I will
and
not."
faster.
Yeah.
They all wanted Joe Abercrombie.
Yeah.
And so, all right, question number 2.
Okay.
I know this is going to get a good, delicious rant out of you.
Oh,
So
it could be so many things.
you recently did a TED Talk.
I did.
And something that was really striking in this TED Talk was you talking about, I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing, but it was like, we need the uncomfortable parts of writing. We need the things that are difficult.
Yeah.
We need to do these things. We need to be able to walk into the darkness. And AI kind of prevents people from doing that. What I've noticed is that writing via AI prevents you from doing those hard parts. It'll do the hard parts for you.
Yeah.
You take the easy part, which is coming up with an idea. You give it to the AI. What is your kind of perspective on like what's going on? Are you scared? Are you angry?
Do I fear our robot overlords?
Yeah.
I, for one, welcome our robot. So I guess I have two feelings about this, and neither is particularly positive, but One is Ted Chiang, who is a wonderful science fiction writer and also has said, I think, some of the most intelligent things on AI. Talked about it like if it's writing with AI is like going to the gym and having a forklift lift the weights. The weights got lifted, you're not any stronger. So yes, the discomfort of writing is how you learn, it's how you get better. But I think we also forget, like we talk about AI theft in terms of copyright theft
Yes.
and intellectual property theft, all real. What we don't talk about is the theft of pleasure from writing, from creating art, and AI is stealing that from us too. When we, like, good writing days are the best,
They
right?
are.
Like when the story is flowing, even when you're solving a problem and suddenly you come up with that solve, right? It's an extraordinary feeling. And AI is going to steal that from all the young artists that it dupes with this promise of, I'm gonna give this to you. And I think it also speaks to, for all the writers and artists in the room, to know your why, right? If you're in this for fame and fortune, you have chosen a terrible path. But if you are in this for fame and fortune, first of all, there's better ways to get rich.
Ignore us about the fame and fortune part.
Especially
It
him.
works once in a while, but
But the thing is, I think I've participated in this in the sense of like, you know, social media, I think, has given people a very wacky idea about what it means to be a published author, right? You're just going to sign a whole bunch of books and you're going to be on the red carpet and, and that it's all going to feel that way all the time, when the reality is most writers have day jobs. And many of them have teaching gigs. Many of them have to do long stints of speaking gigs in order to support their income. And none of that means that you're a lesser writer or that you have that your books are less worthy in some way. They absolutely are not. The market is fickle. But I think the thing that drives me nuts is like, you have to love the act of doing this. And if you don't, and if the only purpose is, you know, then by all means, if your goal is to just publish a book, and get to say you're an author, AI can do that for you, but you will miss out on so much. And that's a theft that I just can't, and I think it's just so wrong. It's a con. It's a con.
yeah.
You let him know. You wanted a rant, you got a rant.
I got a rant, that's what I wanted.
I didn't swear.
We're in a school. Yeah. They don't swear in schools.
I did
Never.
an event in a synagogue the other night. Didn't stop me then. No lightning bolts struck. Yeah. Yet. Yeah.
All right, last question for me. It kind of relates to this, the same sort of thing, meaning the TED Talk and stuff. Yeah, I've heard you talk about this idea of that the better question is not where do you get your ideas. The question is, how do you stick with something long enough to make that idea bloom? Right? And this really struck me because that's a really poignant way of putting this this thing that as writers, what we do is we turn ourselves through writing into someone who can make great stories.
That's beautiful.
Like in some ways, you as a writer, if you're practicing writer, think of yourself as the piece of art. The book
I love this.
comes
This is good
from
stuff.
that, right?
You should do a TED Talk. Yeah.
But really, I think that the purpose of the writing is just to have these experiences. So my question to you is, can you think of a time where it was a real struggle for you?
Can I think of a time?
Yeah.
Tuesday. Like.
And what did you do in that case to get through, like when the book wasn't working?
So I can think of like a concrete fun one where it's like the resolution happened and it was like yay, which was when I was working on Six of Crows. I had talked to my friend Rich, who worked for the CIA, and I was like, tell me about security at the White House. And he was like, oh. And so I had really researched how to build this impenetrable fortress, and I got them into the fortress, and then I was like, I don't know how to get them out of the fortress. And I had that for a long, I was like, I really was stuck for several weeks, and I remember being in the shower where many ideas arrive, and I was like, oh, I can invent a tank. Okay, easy. And then you have to go back and seed, you know, so that you don't invent a tank and people are like, wait, there are tanks. So that's part of the process. But so that was an example of sometimes you have to wait for the story to arrive and to resolve itself, and then it's so gratifying to then build that in. But I can also say, last year, have you ever had writer's block? This is a reasonable question.
I have, but I'm pretty good at getting over it.
Okay.
It does happen, but I'm pretty good. Like, I know the difference between writer's block, something's wrong with this story,
Right.
and writer's block, something's wrong with this story that I can fix, and writer's block, like
Something's wrong with me.
something's wrong with me, right?
No,
And those
that's
are three
real.
different things.
Yeah.
And the more I write, the more I learn the difference between these. If something's just really wrong with the story, I do let myself abandon it and do something different. That's only happened a couple times, but I mean, it happened with a book called The Apocalypse Guard, which I just tossed I called my publisher and I said, I can't fix it. I'm writing you a different book. And that's
You were like,
usually-
it will take me 2 weeks and I will have it.
Yeah.
By the way, every writer I've done a conversation with on this tour is just wildly prolific. So
Okay.
it was like my exercise in ritual humiliation. It's been great. I return home a broken woman. But last year, I had real writer's block for the first time. There's writer's block where it's like, oh, I don't know where the story goes. There's writer's block, I'm tired. And then last year, I had to write a novella. Big whoop, right?
Right.
But it was for this horror project that involves other authors. So like my anxiety was at 11. And it took me a while to recognize what this was because I didn't understand it because it had never happened. I was burned out. Like I had toured so much, I had done so much promotion, I had been pushing so hard that I had sort of forgotten how to enjoy myself and I was really freaked out. Like I was like, what if this is the new normal, right? Like what if I'm one of those authors who, like I'm working on the third, ninth house, and I was like, thank you, I need praise. And that's coming out in September of next year, and yes, unless keep it coming. Okay, but I thought, and so when I started work on that, I'm like, what if this is like the novella where every word is a fight, right? What if I'm one of those people who never finishes the series? Like, what if this is my new story? And thankfully, it didn't work that way, but I think I had to be away from the work for a while. I had to like go on a vacation, you know? Have you been on a vacation?
I hear about them.
They're amazing.
I hear you can get lots of books written on them.
Yeah. But I did need to really disengage, and I had to go off of social media for a while because I
that's a help,
truly
yeah.
believe social media is like drinking a little poison every day, and you're like, I'm fine, and then one day your liver is like, are you? Are you fine? Yeah.
You mentioned ideas in the shower. My wife knows if she walks in and I am wet in a towel with my laptop, that she's not to say anything and just ignore me. It happens a lot. It really does. See, here's the thing, because I do a writing session from
You
about...
could get a bathrobe, I'm just
I
saying.
could.
Like, they have them.
They
yeah.
take too long. You can't put on a
I don't
bathrobe.
have time for sleeves, you amateur.
I write from like 1 until 5 or something like that. Then I go take a shower and get ready to hang out with the family for the day. But the problem is you get done with that scene and your brain is still in that zone. I get in the shower and my brain's like, oh, here's what you do with the next
There's
chapter.
the solve,
Here's the solve for the thing you're having. I'm like, ah! And just out of the shower with the laptop.
I'll just go running into the street. That's what I do. I have a theory that, like, I really believe that the subconscious is the best tool, particularly for people who have full-time jobs, or if you have kids to raise, which is a full-time job, like that when you can deploy your subconscious, like if I have a short period of time to write in, if I only have a 15-minute or 30-minute block, the most important thing I can do is set a goal for the next day. Okay, what's the problem I need to solve, or what's the next thing I'm gonna work on? Because your subconscious is doing that work while you're going about your business.
It's really good advice. It works so well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why before I write, I'm listening to music for a half hour. I usually like go to the gym, listen to music for a half hour, and
do you have like a go-to like,
playlist?
Yeah.
So I build a different one for every book series.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
They're on Spotify. I've just Mistborn 1 on Spotify. You can find them.
I love that.
Yeah. And you just go listen to my Skyward playlist or my Stormlight playlist or
Yeah.
my Mistborn playlist or things like that. So, yeah.
Oh, nice. I might try that. Maybe I will become a fast writer too.
Leigh, you joke. You're a pretty decently fast writer.
Thanks, Brandon.
The truth is, we're all shown up by these indie authors.
I know.
Do you know how fast they write?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. Oh, we'll draw a question. Oh, let's talk about those indie authors.
Wait.
No.
So the first three, I'm finally doing merch. I'm finally doing some merch. So we're doing some official merch, and I was given 3 sticker packs to give away. These are from Kingdom of Threads, and they actually kind of made They kind of made Kaz look like a K-pop idol. I'm not gonna lie.
Let me see.
You're my soda
Oh,
pop,
yeah.
my little soda
Oh,
pop.
wow.
Yeah. So we are going to give those away. We're going to give 3 away to the first 3 questions we ask. Okay.
All right.
So you have to rise and declare yourself when we call on your name.
All right. First question is from Olivia. Were there any books or movies that influenced the heist aspect of Six of Crows?
Yeah. So when the whole idea from Six of Crows came, I was driving down the street in LA and I saw a billboard for a movie called Monuments Men with George Clooney and Matt Damon. Have you seen that? I have not. Because I saw that billboard and I was like, I don't care. But I do want to rewatch Ocean's 11, and then I almost drove off the road because I was like, oh, I know exactly what I want to write. Although I will say, originally the heist was much more like rompy. Like it was all about like heisting the Fjordan crown jewels. And my agent was like, that doesn't feel high enough stakes. And I was like, how dare you? But then I went home and was like, oh yeah, she's absolutely right. So that shifted a little bit. And then I will say, when I was getting ready to write Crooked Kingdom, I went and binged a bunch of Leverage.
Okay, yeah.
And I will say, like, Leverage, the heists do not add up. The heists and the cons, like TV and film, they can get away with stuff we cannot get away with in books because people are slowly reading through.
They'll call us on our crap.
100%.
Yeah.
Readers are tougher. And but there was an episode where there was like a shadow group where they had to basically fight like their mirrors, and I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna take that. So yeah. So if you look at Crooked Kingdom, it's not just Inej fighting her shadow; they're all fighting shadow selves in that. So.
That was a pretty good question.
It was a good question, Olivia. You deserve this sticker back.
All right, Marlo. How do you go about writing representation for people in places that aren't your own? Your POC and queer rep has always been among my faves.
Thank you. Look, I don't think there's a magic bullet for this. I think when you write, whatever you're writing, you try to write it honestly and thoroughly. So you do your research, and also, I have a lot of friends, I have a lot of friends who have been kind enough to help me to be early readers on my books. I think in general, our goal as writers, it should be extreme empathy. And honestly, that should be our goal as humans, and I call social media the empathy killing machine. Like, we need to interact with each other as humans, not as archetypes, not as labels, and the closer we can get to that, I think books are the thing that can get us closer.
I often say that we live in perhaps the best era to write books in that's ever been because we have access to so many viewpoints that can help us.
Yeah.
And there are blogs. If you don't know people, there are people out there who professionally will read books for you to help you out. It's a great time to be a writer.
But I'll just say also, don't write diversity for points.
Yeah.
Don't write it for cookies. We write to reflect the world around us. And something I recognized was that when I first wrote Shadow and Bone, I was echoing a lot of fantasy I'd read as opposed to the world around me. So I am always trying, I am trying to be an honest writer, even if I don't always hit the mark. That's my goal. Thank you. You guys are very nice. You're a very nice crowd.
All right, I think this is a Rachel. What are your favorite ways to get inspiration for new books?
I'm going to throw this one at you since I'm holding it.
Ooh.
Okay, this is going
Here
to
it
go
is,
badly.
Ninja Star. Oh!
I'm sorry.
Pass that up to Rachel. We're watching you.
You're
They're
very
nice.
honest
They
about it.
immediately did it.
That's how you know you're in Utah. Thank you. So kind. That wouldn't happen in LA. There'd be a fist fight.
All right, so what are your favorite ways to get inspiration for new books?
Ooh, this is a good question.
There's a
for you,
two-parter
too.
here, so I'll get the other one, but in a sec.
Wow, I wish I knew sort of the magical font of inspiration so I could just visit there. But I think it comes from travel. I think it comes from reading. Research is my favorite thing. Like I used to feel guilty when I would be researching and not working on the draft. But what I learned was if I'm struggling in the draft, the best thing I can do is go read, some cultural history or material culture stuff, or like that is the stuff that really inspires me because history is weird and gross, and I love it. Yeah.
I'd say for me, a lot of my best ideas come from reading a book or watching media and saying, oh, they did it wrong, right? Not that they did it wrong for them, they did it wrong for...
Oh, no, they did it wrong.
Right?
Yeah.
Right, like the Mistborn, the story for Mistborn came from watching Lord of the Rings, and he didn't do it wrong.
I mean, like Tolkien.
Right. She said it, not
Somebody's
me.
gonna meme that, and I am gonna be set fire to.
Oh, it's going right on our TikTok.
Great.
But no.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
I was reading it, and I'm like, oh, hey, what if Frodo got to the end of Lord of the Rings, and Sauron said, my ring! I've been looking for that.
Oh my God,
Where did you find that? You got it? You brought it all the way here? That must have been a long trip. Thank you. And then killed him and took over the world, right?
Right.
Like, that's the sort of thing that really gets a story going for me, is like, where can I take and where can I add something? Where can I do something new?
I think there's almost, I think inspiration like that is so precious. And it has, I remember when I was in high school, actually, I saw a movie, I think it was a Woody Allen movie, actually, but it was this woman had these voices in her head, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna write a play where you actually see them and you don't understand that they're just the voices in her head. And it wasn't very good, but nothing I did in high school was very good, but I think that that's absolutely a very legitimate form of inspiration to be like, I could do this different, I could do this better.
Can people read any of your high school stories?
So I'm gonna tell you, I used to do a reading from what was essentially Dragonlance self-insert fanfic.
My first was also a Dragonlance self-insert. Yeah.
And I had a pair of fraternal twins who, the one...
Was one sexy and kind of like a mage and kind of emaciated, and one really strong and noble but kind of dumb?
He is literally described. No, that is actual Dragonlance. No, this is worse, Brandon. This is, so the brother was a sweet and helpful fellow named Jareth, Labyrinth, and the sister was a beautiful blonde assassin named Blood. Who I assume it was a family name. Yeah. I don't know, but if you name your kid Blood, they are going to become an assassin. Yeah.
You hate that Blood who's like a baker. And they're like,
right. You're she goes by B, but it is, and they form a traveling band of companions. There's a talking woodchuck. I named Lorenzo. Yeah. Okay. Murderous fairy. Yeah.
So I put one of mine on my website.
That's brave of you. That's good of you. Yeah.
It won an award when I was a kid.
Aww.
Yeah, I was 17. I submitted it to the local kids, teenager writing science fiction fantasy contest, and I put it stapled backwards. And they gave me the award, but they said, first we thought you were doing something really avant-garde. And then we realized...
there's a different path where you become a literary author. And you're like, I do everything backwards.
Everything backwards. Yeah. But the printer printed it backwards, and I just didn't look at it. I just stapled it. All right, there's a second part to this one, which is actually good, because... Okay. You recently had a picture book come out.
I did.
I bought that. I pre-ordered your picture book.
Bless you. Thank you.
And it says, how were you inspired to make your newest picture book story about El Dia de los Muertos?
Okay, so I am a big George R. R. Martin fan. I still am in George R. R. Martin's fan club, the Brotherhood Without Banners. I have been knighted. I am Sir Leigh II, and I will find Sir Leigh I. It's the Game of Thrones, man. And so I was going to Worldcon, which is was his home base con, and I went to this Worldcon in Reno, and this was before I got published, and I actually had business cards printed with my publication date in my book, and from Vistaprint. But you can cut that out of the podcast. But So I was very nervous about this because I had been there as a fan, but never as sort of an aspiring writer. And I went to one of the BWE parties, and I was sort of nervously just standing there with my drink, hugging the wall, being like, talk to people, talk to people. And John Picasso came in, and John was a big superstar at this con. He'd done the Song of Ice and Fire calendar that year, and I went up to him and I just said, listen, I don't want to take a lot of your time. I'm a huge fan. I loved your depiction of Bran on the battlements. I think it's just so beautiful. And most people would have been like, because everybody wanted to talk to him, would have been like, thank you so much, bye. And he was like, what's your deal? What's your story? What are you doing here? Like, if you met John,
it's very John.
He's very intense,
Yep.
all the time. And we ended up hanging out at that party and talking. He looked at my cover comps for me, and we became friends, and we stayed in touch. And he called me up one day and he was like, I think we should write a book together. And I was like, oh no. Because I assume this happens to you too. Like, this happened to me in a hospital in Las Vegas, okay? I had a hole in my intestines. I was hooked up to an IV on painkillers, and the doctor was like, I have an idea for a book. You'll write it, I'll take 70%. And I was like, beep, beep, beep. Like,
He offered you 30%?
Whole 30. I know. So John said this, and I was like, oh, how are we going to stay friends? And then he said, it's The Wizard of Oz set in a graveyard. And I was like, oh, okay, keep talking. And it took us about 10 years to find the time to do it and to make it happen, but that's how The Invisible Parade was born. So fandom is a great thing. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's gorgeous, and it's very well written.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were talking about fandom.
John, I was at Worldcon this year. He saw me. He's like, Sanderson, look at this. And he was so proud of the page proofs that he had and things like that. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, wonderful book.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So these next two people who are called, you're going to get the Kaz and Inej standees. First person. I appreciate that response, but I'm also like, what are people going to do with these? Like, I like the idea. I really hope you're going to sit them at the dining room table and just be like, who's hungry? Yeah.
No, see, I find these things really good for pranking roommates and our family members. My wife may occasionally find Gandalf in the bathroom.
That would scare me to death. Yeah.
All right, for the standee, Laura, when you encounter a new reader, what is your recommended reading order of your books?
You won, Kaz. Okay.
Recommended reading order.
It depends what you're into.
It's the same answers that I give.
Yeah,
You're very smart.
It depends what you're into. Like, if you like horror and you don't mind the darkness, then Ninth House. If you are more like a YA reader, Shadow and Bone. I guess if you are looking for a heist, Six of Crows. And if you're just like, I don't know if I like this lady, you could buy Language of Thorns and like read one of the short stories and see if you like that. Yeah.
And for me, I do the same thing. I say, all right, what are you into, right?
What's your mood?
What's your mood? Because do you want to get into a series? Do you not? I usually recommend Mistborn just because the first book stands very well on its own. It kind of does all the things that I do. But I find a lot of people who are trying to get their friends into my books give them Way of Kings, which is like jumping into the deep end first. Yeah, you did. They did it to you. So I apologize. But Emperor's Soul won the award. It's my literary piece. And so I'm like, do you want something a little more literary?
Yeah.
Or do you want something lighthearted, like Trust of the Emerald Sea is a cozy, right?
Yeah,
so,
if it's somebody who doesn't read fantasy, I'd give them The Familiar, because that's my Trojan horse book. Because it's like, oh, you say you don't like fantasy, perhaps you like history. And then fantasy. So, yeah.
All right, so this is for the other standee.
Yes, this is for Inej.
Other standee. All right, here we go. This is Julianne. Ooh, yes. Wow.
I think it's an international delay. It's fine. No.
Came in from the moon.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. What was your thought process when combining Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows in the TV show?
Too soon? Too soon. No. So Netflix was initially only interested in Shadow and Bone. And I said to them, you know who would be a great writer for this is Eric Heiserer. I know he's read Six of Crows because he posted a picture of himself on the way to the Academy Awards with Six of Crows in his lap. And I was like, nice flex. I'm on the way to the Oscars, doing a little light reading. And I was like, he might be interested. And so then Heiserer was like, I want to meet with you before I meet with them. And I was like, I'm into it. And we sat down, and the first thing he said was, I want to bring these together. And I was like, I think that's amazing, because to me, it makes the world feel bigger. You know, Shadow and Bone is a very classic Chosen One story. And to me, there are a lot more points of access with Six of Crows. And so we had a big talk that lunch about what we wanted to change, how we could bring them together. And at first, and I will tell you this, like, he wanted to just take the plot of Six of Crows and the plot of Shadow and Bone, and I was like, you cannot put the Darkling in a room with Jirta Parem. That blows up every bit of plot we have. Like, that's it. That's it. Like, you know. And then he was like, well, what if we heist Alina Starkov? And I was like, oh, yes, okay. So, yeah, I was on the call when he did that, and I was like, yeah! So that was how we did it, yeah.
It was fun watching the pieces kind of come together.
It was.
Yeah. All right.
And then it stopped, but it's fine. I'm fine.
You're fine.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
I really am fine. I'm okay.
So, this is for no prize.
Sorry, but our love and gratitude.
Yes.
Yes.
So Caitlin asks a wonderful question. Why are you so cool?
I have never been cool in my life. In my life, yeah. Never.
Yeah. We're fantasy authors.
We are not cool. Yeah, if we were cool, we would be like rock guitarists or something, yeah.
Do you know the guitarist for Maroon 5 grew up like just down the road from me?
I did not know that.
Yeah. It was so weird that this little kid became the guitarist for Maroon 5. It's so weird.
I mean, it's
And
the
he's cool.
The weirdos and the
Yeah.
nerds are the people who become musicians and writers and artists, because we don't get invited to parties.
Yeah.
We hang out with our friends on Saturday nights, yeah.
Caitlin also asked, do you need a BFF? Because I'm available for that position.
Oh, Caitlin! I'm a misanthrope and hate all people, but you sound delightful.
Sarah asks, do you have any advice for an author querying their novel for the first time? Oh, I'm so sorry for you. Oh.
All right,
Oh,
first
dear.
of all, let's all give good energy to
Yeah.
was it Aaron?
I threw it away.
Wow, you threw
I don't want to
the
put it back in the
publishing
thing.
industry. Yeah.
It was Sarah.
Sarah, okay, sorry. So let's all, Sarah, sell this book. My best advice when you're querying is to be working on something else. You're not working on the sequel to whatever you're writing, you are working on something else, because it is important to remember that you don't just have one story in you. You have, and it can feel that way, right? It can feel like if this book doesn't make it, then that's it. But that's not the way it works, right? Lots of people don't sell their first book. What's gonna happen when you sign with an agent with the second book? The first question they're gonna ask you, do you have anything else? And you're gonna be like, shablam, I have this first novel. But in order for that to happen, don't say shablam, but in order, they will not want to work with you. But for that to happen, you have to write that second book, right? So you have to remind yourself that your creativity is much bigger than just one story. You are full of stories and ideas, and that, for me, is the only tonic, is the work.
Which book of yours was the first one that sold?
Shadow and Bone.
Yeah, and what book
It was the first
it?
book I finished.
Yeah.
But it was not the first book I started. I, unlike you, am a late bloomer. I didn't publish until I was 37, okay? And that's not because I didn't know I wanted to be a writer. I did. I wanted to be a writer from the time I was a little kid, but I had no idea what my process was. So I would start with all this momentum. I was great at a first chapter, great at a first act, and then I would screech to a halt, because the second act is the bulk of the book. That's really where the story happens. And I had no idea how to outline, and I am a structure person. I need that structure, I need that safety net. So for me, like, I took a screenwriting class because I'm from Los Angeles and it's required by law. But for some reason, it didn't occur to me to apply that to a novel until I had the idea for Shadow and Bone. And then I was like, I'm gonna try outlining this. And for me, that was the key that unlocked it. And it was shutting down the critical voice in my head.
It's still a little aggravating that you sold the first one you wrote.
Let's not talk about that.
Do you know how many books I wrote before I sold one?
I do not know.
I wrote 13.
Did you query all of them?
I queried almost all of them.
Okay.
The first few, not.
Yeah.
I sold number 6 while I was finishing number 13.
But here's the thing, too, is that if I had written Shadow and Bone when I was 20, it might not have sold.
Yeah.
Like, that was a moment when young adult was booming and people were looking for young adult stories. When I was a teenager, and even in my 20s and early 30s, like, YA just wasn't where it ended up.
Yeah. It wasn't a thing, really.
No.
Juveniles are what they call them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Sweet Valley High.
I would say, for someone who's querying for the first time, Leigh's advice is the best advice. Be working on the next thing.
Obviously.
Also, though, don't ask us because we broke in 10 years or more ago.
That's true.
What the people you want to talk to are the people who are querying and having success with queries right now, and they do post online and things. Queries are the worst because I don't know. For those of you who aren't writers, a query is like a formal letter introducing your book. It doesn't use your actual storytelling skills. I feel.
I disagree.
Do you?
I do.
Maybe I've just had too many agents say, "Don't use your storytelling skills. We want them dry."
Well, I think that your pitch is actually like
That's
a
true.
good pitch.
That one line, that two lines,
is almost the thing that it can end up on your flap copy. You know,
It can.
like, and one of the many jobs I had before I got to have my dream job was I wrote movie trailers for a living. You know, like In a Land Without Justice. Except I was the only woman on staff, so I wrote all the like rom-com stuff. So it was like Brandon was a guy who couldn't catch a break, but he's about to learn. Yeah. But it actually ended up being a great skill for flap copy and for taglines and that kind of thing. So I think, but yes, the pitch is so hard, and you've put all this work into something, and then you have to sort of whittle it down to just a few punchy lines. But I'll say this too, query in small batches, right? Because if you're not getting the response you want, you can tweak that pitch, you can change that query. And also, if it doesn't happen, it does not mean you're not talented. The market might not be in the right place for you, right? Or the person who read the query might have had something gross for lunch. Like, you don't know what the thing is, but you cannot lose faith in yourself. The only way you fail is if you stop. So you must not stop.
I once heard a thing where someone asked Robert Jordan to give the pitch for The Wheel of Time.
Oh my gosh.
And he said, "No, I wrote it the length I wrote it at. That's the length that it takes to tell you the story."
Now, granted, Robert Jordan was married to his editor when he sold The Wheel of Time.
Twist.
Yeah. Not when he sold his first book, so when he sold that one. So he didn't have to. All right, Colleen says, unusual writing advice that you wish you knew sooner. Colleen, you have handwriting. Your handwriting is better than mine, so it's okay. But unusual writing advice that you wish you knew sooner.
Ooh, that's challenging. Do you have one?
Oh, boy.
I mean, the shower, again, very useful.
Yeah, the shower is very useful. Unusual writing advice. What can I tell you that's unusual?
I talk to myself a lot. And I have found that to be a very useful tool. But I guess that's not something I wish I knew sooner because I've been talking to myself since I was a kid.
You know what's worked for me lately? My wife Emily asking questions about movies and media. So if you can get to know my wife Emily, she's very good with. She actually inspired 2 of my books by saying, "What's the deal with this movie that we just watched? It's messed up in this way." I'm like, I can write a book that doesn't do that. Yeah.
Could you give me Emily's cell?
Yeah.
Wait, okay. I guess this is not unusual, but it's sort of like the people, like, you don't need the people who become your critique partners or your beta partners or whatever it is, your readers. They don't have to be writers. They have to be the people who come out of movies or TV shows and ask those questions, who don't just say, oh, I liked it or I didn't like it. They're the people who want to talk about it. The people who are like, man, I didn't like the hero because X, Y, and Z. Or the people who are like, I loved it until the end because then it fell apart. Like, those people who understand story and who can be honest with you but generous with you, like, you need those. You need those readers, because at least for me, there's a point at which, like, I can't see the story and I need somebody to see it for me.
Yeah. So, no, unusual writing advice. I mean,
It's all pretty boring.
The problem is it's pretty boring. The writing advice is sit in the chair and write stories.
Wait.
Oh,
no,
good.
I got a
You
good
got one.
Yes.
Oh, you're
this
gonna
kid-
redeem us.
Yes. Okay. Redemption is here.
Okay.
Redemption arc. Lainey Taylor gave me this advice, or she said it in an event, and I said this to her years later, and she was like, I never said that. I was like, yes, you did. But when you're working on something, right, you've got your big idea, everything's going, and then you hit a wall, and then all of a sudden there's that other idea, right, that like saunters in, is like, I'm so sexy, and I smell good, and you're like, no. Instead of rejecting that idea, put it into the work you're working on, because that idea could be a sign. It's your subconscious at work that's telling you there might be something missing, like some sauce missing, and you can take that and put it into the work to re-inspire you.
Oh, that is good advice.
It is good, yeah.
Like I actually.
Thank you, Lainey, even though you don't remember.
Yeah, it's similar to some advice. Like I think my book started getting good during the early days, those 13, when I would be combining ideas. When I wouldn't just get so tunnel vision on, it's this story. They felt very archetypal, too much. They were too cliche, and particularly the first 5 books that I never even really showed to anybody. And it's when I started saying, well, what if I mash these 2 ideas together?
Yeah.
What do they do to each other? That the book started getting good.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you. We got there.
We got there.
It took us a while.
Lainey got us there. Oh no, this person wrote a novel, which we appreciate, but it's Andolin like mandolin.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I was wondering what you look for in a good editor/publishing team. I'm an English major, and publishing is my dream job. P.S. Thank you so much for sharing Six of Crows with the world. My friend first recommended the series to me in middle school, and now I'm a senior in college.
Oh my
the
God, I'm
Crows
old.
have been with me all along the way. Oh, we're old.
Yes, I am a crone. Okay.
Okay, so the question was, what do you look for in a good editor/publishing team?
When it comes to an editor, I think you want somebody who shares the same taste. Like if you like the same things, then you're going to have the same sensibility, and they need to. And a question that I asked early on was, where do you see this on the shelf? Like, what do you see as the comparative titles? So because you don't want to give your book to somebody who truly wants it to be something else, right? You want them to see the heart of the book and to embrace that and to help you make it better. And in terms, like, it's not like we don't get to pick our teams, but really just people who are passionate about reading. And I know that sounds like, well, of course, then why would you be in publishing? But, you could ask the same thing of Hollywood. Like, people who have taste and who feel passion for things, that's getting rarer and rarer. We're seeing this flattening of taste, right? And this is because of social media. And this is because, there's a book called Filter World that's all about this, that's about how everything has started to look the same. That you can walk into a coffee shop in Tokyo and a coffee shop in LA and a coffee shop in Salt Lake, and they look the same. Same tile, same blackboard, etc. That's not good for us as artists. We need disruption. We need influences that haven't been fed to us by an algorithm. I don't remember why I started this rant, but look for people who have passion and who have taste and who like weird stuff. Yeah.
I'm in an odd place because I do get to pick my team.
Okay.
Because my editor retired.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah.
Moshe retired, and now I'm like, send me some of your editors, have them give passes. So I got to actually kind of
You had a bake-off.
Yeah, I did.
You had a dance-off. I love that.
So I was really looking for people who made the suggestions that when I made the changes, it made the story better in the way I wanted it to be
Love
better.
that. Yes.
Right? Because everyone will have suggestions. And
Always.
It's just like, when they push me, does the push make it better?
I did do that with copy editors, and my rule was who made me the least insane. Was like, yeah.
Okay, Bryn Ripley asks, what is your writing routine?
Right name. Sorry, what was
What's
the
your
question?
writing routine?
I weep some more. I lie in a ditch of doubt. Okay, we have very different routines.
Yes,
so
I
this
order a
is gonna be
fruity drink.
I draw a chalk pentagram. Okay, I am a daytime writer. You are a nighttime writer,
I am.
yes? So I usually am a daytime writer. And this is almost like a holdover from college, because I was the kid who would cram for the test and like the night before, write the paper
Okay.
the night before. You can't write a novel that way, but there was always this sense of hopelessness that would set in when it got dark and when the dorms got quiet, where you're like, well, I'm alone now. So I like the feeling of sort of being working when everybody is working. When I am on deadline, which is most of the time, I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, pet my dog, and then I go to work, and I work all day long, and then we close it down, and I keep those hours. The only exception to that was The Familiar, which wanted to be written at night. And I could not fight it, and I was like, the story is telling me something, so I'm going to write this at night. So
Yeah. So I get up around 1, a
PM.
writer, PM, yeah. Yeah. I go to... Yeah. I go to the gym. It's like in my basement now, right? I listen to music, things like that, and I usually start about an hour after I get up. So I'm starting often around 2. Sometimes I get up at noon and I start at 1. That's if I'm feeling really,
yeah.
And then I generally write about 4 hours. So 2 till 6 is what I'm doing now. I need 2 4-hour sessions, and I think it's because of something you said earlier, that subconscious.
Yeah.
I have to then let my subconscious
Let it
work.
cook, yeah.
The other thing that is, having 3 kids, I put some structures in place very early in my career. And this is because it's actually, I can go back to my wonderful wife, Emily, again. I don't know if you have this experience, but being a writer can take over everything.
You don't say.
Yes. And I remember going out to dinner one time, and I was at dinner with Mole and Shannon Hale, who are local writers, Brandon Mole and Shannon Hale. So I'm out to dinner with Mole and Hale, and they're both my friends from before I got published, right? And now I'm married, and Emily's there. This is about a year after I got married. And it was just a wonderful dinner that afterward Emily's like, nobody looked at me the whole dinner. Yeah.
I don't like that.
No, and I'm like, I don't like that. But I was newlywed. You do stupid stuff before you learn your lesson. And I'm like,
stupid stuff.
yeah. And I started talking, and I realized I'd never had to put guide rails on my writing career or barriers. And so I came up with this thing that said, once I'm done with my writing, I need time with family that I can't be writing. If they aren't there, I can't write. I have to go do something fun. I have to, otherwise I, being me, will just be writing all the time. And there's this danger for me that if I'm writing all the time, I won't resent not writing, but there's the worry that, that it would consume everything. And so I, from 6 until 10, cannot write. I'm not allowed. I can't do anything that is deeply involved in book stuff, unless, I'm going to an event or something, that's totally fine. But
you're like, oh no, I've broken my rules. I have to leave.
No, going to an event, but I can't be working on a book.
Okay.
And so I have to find other things to do with my time, such as going to events or hanging out with my kids, hanging out with my wife, and things like that. I go back to work at 10 or 11, and I do another 4-hour session.
No.
Yep.
No.
So.
I go to sleep at 10, yes. When I went to Worldcon this last year, we had a 9:30 dinner reservation, and I was like, I need so much coffee. I was like, that is roughly around the time I'm winding down. But I will say this, I think we think of work-life balance. When people talk about it, they talk about it almost like it's a daily thing. And I don't actually, that's not the way I have lived my life. There will be stretches of time when I am completely devoted to a book for months, and then I come out of it, and I don't have kids, so it's a different vibe. And then I come out of that, and then I have a period of time where I do get to enjoy myself, go on vacation, etc. There were 3 years of my life where when I was working on Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, where I was touring and I was writing. I didn't see friends, I didn't date, I didn't nothing. And I don't regret it because I wouldn't want to keep doing it. I pulled 3 all-nighters to write Crooked Kingdom. I do regret that. I think it aged me 20 years. But at the same time, I cannot look back on that and regret it because that helped to build this beautiful life now. So I think when we think of work-life balance, it's wise to think about it in terms of sort of the big picture as opposed to a daily thing.
Yeah, that's good advice. All right, next question is, let's see. This is from Daniel. What should we eat for dinner? All right, Daniel. You came to the right place. Best restaurant in Salt Lake City is Vultures. Get the pasta appetizer plate. It's expensive, but it's worth it. Yeah. If you were actually at the King's English, there is a very good Middle Eastern restaurant next door, literally. But you're not actually there, but you can still go there. They close pretty early, though, so you may not be able to get there in time.
Yeah, I got nothing for you.
What else? What do you think they should eat?
I think they should have some tacos.
Okay.
And a milkshake. I don't know. I don't live here.
Utah does good tacos.
I had a very good sandwich today. I don't remember where it was from, but it was
Utah
excellent.
does good Korean food, too. Cow is pretty good.
Okay, musubi is my favorite snack. It's like spam. I know, I love spam. It's spam and rice and nori.
Okay,
and
yeah.
if I could eat that every day, I would. Mm-hmm. Eat that for dinner.
All right. Becca says, what can you tell us about Darker Shore?
Oh,
Yeah.
I already told you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
Please pre-order. Yes.
They were there. That's the name of the, yeah.
Yes, that's the letters from Ketterdam. That's
Yeah.
the short story. Look, I'm going to be real with you. I overcomplicated this in ways you cannot imagine. Like, it was so tricky to figure out how we were going to publish this because to do a book of ephemera and to do a book of found documents is pretty challenging, but we have found a way. Like, we wanted to bring it out for the anniversary, but we literally could not figure out how to make this thing, but we have made it, and I hope you will enjoy it. Yeah.
I am going to go pre-order it right after
bless
this.
you. Thank you.
I've gotten the one last question sign.
Okay.
Unless you want to overrule that.
I want to overrule it. We're
You
going
want
to do two last questions.
Two last
Yeah.
questions. Okay.
Rebellion.
Okay. Hannah and M ask, what has helped you write about such various types of mental illness slash physical conditions and make them so realistic? Also, thank you a million.
Oh, thank you. I've been through some stuff, you know? I have. Like, look, I think it's very easy, and I think about this again in terms of, you know, our culture has always fetishized youth, right? And they love the idea of a discovery and, oh, this person wrote this book when they were 18 or whatever. I had a lot of bad jobs, right? I've been through some stuff. When I was writing Shadow and Bone, I was in a horrific relationship. And I was in the darkest place in my life. I have dealt with depression. I still deal with depression. None of these things should ever stop you from believing that you can experience love, magic, adventure. They do not belong to one kind of person or one kind of mind.
Last question.
Last question.
Last
I hope
question.
it's a light one.
It's from Kendall. What part of the Grishaverse do you think we would benefit most from in this world? Much love. Thank you for sharing your world, Kendall, or with us, Kendall.
Man, we could use a Nikolai. Yeah. Good, honest, optimistic. I like your style. Would buy that bumper sticker. Yeah, look, I am one of those, I became, I think, a fantasy writer because I was always waiting for magic. You know, I always believed in it. And I feel for the people who are not people who love genre. Because I think we see possibility. Fantasy readers see possibility where other people don't. And I think it would be a shame to lose that. So I think for me, the possibilities of the Grishaverse, the fact that it keeps expanding, the fact that magic doesn't belong to one kind of person in that world, like that's what I would like to hold on to. Yeah.
Leigh Bardugo, everyone.
Sanderson!